people rather more expensive. The things that quite often, those markets that did really, really well became more expensive, and everybody, smart money is all the time comparing them and competing. So what happens is the naive money buys the thing that was hot or is hot. The thing that has been terrible, which might be the thing that's beaten down. So I would say also an important element. Okay, so here's another one that's really important. Diversify.
So don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right, because what I learned about this is that, first of all investments compete, and it's not easy to tell whether one investment is better than the other, because if people could do that, life would be easy and everybody'd make a ton of money. And this is a competitive game that's very difficult to compete in. So it's very difficult to say which one's better or worse. You could take experts and you could and do all sorts of tests, and you'll find out that they can pick that, and you can't tell whether the worst ones are going to be better. So because of that, you understand that even picking the best ones is difficult, and particularly if you're naive. Like, we spend hundreds of millions of dollars each year on research to try to give us an edge. Wow. Okay. Now you've got to compete with us. So competing in the markets is more difficult than competing in the Olympics. You wouldn't go think I'm going to compete in the Olympics, but there are more people who try harder in order to do that. So it's a zero-sum game. So, but diversification, that they're different, will reduce your risk without reducing your return. Yeah. So if you know how to diversify well, so that's critical. So I would say, again, get your savings right. And the reasons I say, I would say, have great humility about what you don't know. Don't buy the thing that was hot. Don't just because you think it's hot. And then know how to diversify well. Those would be the most important things I could convey.
I love that you talk about the sports analogy, the Olympics. You're speaking my language now as a former football player. Some of the greatest quarterbacks seem to get not too high. They get excited, but not too excited, and not too low when things go good or bad. How important is that skill to be emotionally resilient on both levels, high and low, for you? How important is that skill?
It is one of the most important things possible, and it's not easy to do. So I needed to, do two things. I found that by writing down my principles and the rules, and then testing how they would have performed over time, and that's where the algorithms came, so that I can basically, just like a machine, play it click, 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 okay, with execute the game plan. Don't do it because I know what the experience is like. The experience is like you're wrestling around with it, you're losing money. Like the day you put on a trade, it doesn't go either straight up or straight down, it goes against you. So now, I don't know, you're losing money. Okay, how much should you lose? What's your game plan? You've got to know your game plan and stick to the game plan. And you can't be shaken out, and yet the emotions are going to cause you to doubt yourself, and plus it brings you stress, all of that. So you have to execute a game plan that's very well thought out, right? Yeah. Then over time, you start to develop some better instincts. Like if you're excited and you're going along, be scared. If you're doing something you're really worried about and nobody else is doing it, may be good. Don't be dissuaded. See, the markets are very different than consensus decision making. It's counter consensus because the consensus is built into the price. Right. So if everybody loves something, it's expensive. And if everybody hates something, it's cheap. So where most people say, this is like, oh, what a great company. Okay, Amazon is a great company. We got Amazon's a great company. Who doesn't got that Amazon's a great company? Okay. And then, okay, I'm going to go own Amazon. Okay. But if everybody's got that, it's a great company and it becomes increment less great than they anticipated, bam, that baby goes down. So you have to start to develop some of those instincts or a game plan.
And what financial advice would you give to millennials who don't have these tools yet, besides obviously getting your book and starting to practice some of these things? But I feel like millennials are overspending more than ever. They're uneducated on finances and personal finances. What advice would you have there?
Pay attention to the feedback you get from the realities you encounter.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, pain plus reflection. You will get the pain. Pay attention to it. Listen to it, because you're going to get the pain.
Is now the time to start investing, or is it more just save up some reserves for 6 months to have some cash to live your life before you start investing? Or is it important to build the discipline and the habit of investing $50 a month, $100 a month in a diversified portfolio, no matter how much you're making?
I remember going through this because I didn't have any money, and
when was this, right?
This was 1982, 83. I had to borrow $4,000 from my dad to help to take care of my family bills. So I remember thinking, how many weeks could I live if I lost my income? And I started counting in weeks, and I would try to go out, because if I got hit, so I think that's the way to do it. You start to count how many weeks. Can it be a month? Can a year? Can I get up to a year? I didn't like debt because of the fact that there's an obligation, and it's like, if I get, then I'm going to be drowning. I'm trying to keep my head against water. This is just my own bias. But anyway, count how many you can, and then assume that its buying power over the next number of years can fall by 3 or 4% a year, or if you put it in a risky investment, like stocks or something, it can fall by more. So cut that number maybe in half, and have twice as much, because you have to understand that that's your freedom. That is your safety. So that first band, you must take care of that first band. Take care of that. Once you get past that and you feel, okay, I could take care of my family and I could take care of in a worst case scenario, then you have the freedom to then take other kinds of risks. But when you're building that portfolio, it's the same thing as when you have a lot of portfolio past that, just you want to diversify well. Because you could see what happens to the markets. Every market, stock market, bond market, most markets have had times where they've gone down over an extended period, 60 or 70%. So in buying power. So I think diversify, count that, and build it, and realize that's your saving. One thing I do for my kids and grandkids, and always did, or as long as I could start to afford it, was for every holiday, like Christmas or their birthday, I would give them a gold coin. And I said, I never want you to sell that gold coin until there's an emergency, a real emergency, never because you want to buy things. And the reason I did that, and they'll build over a period of time, that'll build something. And I said, don't even sell it. You pass it to your kids unless there's an emergency. Okay. And so you're building that savings, because I think we so easily spend so much money on junk, so anything that I would give them, whatever it would be, I don't know, a piece of clothing, a thingamajig, a toy or something, right, will probably be gone in a year.
Yeah.
Okay. And so the power of saving and that resource the relief it gives you and the power it gives you is so great. So yes, save it, diversify it.
I'm gonna continue to stay on this topic, but also go off a little bit, because you mentioned how, I guess it was 40 years ago, you lost your money and you had to borrow $4,000 from your father to just kind of survive and pay your bills. How much money had you built before then, before losing it?
I don't remember. It wasn't like it was a ton.
Gotcha.
I was fairly early in my career. I had a small investment business. I don't remember what it was exactly, but it wasn't a ton.
I'm curious how you, from having some money to losing it, how you then went on a 40-year, 4-decade run of getting to where you're at now. Was there something in your mindset that allowed you to believe in yourself still?
Yeah. Okay.
That didn't say, oh, I've lost it all. I don't believe in myself anymore because I just ruined my finances.
That extremely painful experience was probably the best experience of my life.
Really?
And it changed my way of thinking, ways I'll describe. But let me say, before that, I didn't have much money. My dad was a jazz musician. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. And I felt, of course, rich. I had 2 parents who loved me. I went to public school, and then when I was a kid, I did odd jobs and I caddied. And so when I put in the stock market when I was 12, and I got hooked on the game. So I never had much money, but then I built up some and then had that experience. And so that experience, which was also a very public experience, was very painful, but it changed my approach to decision making in really a profound way. First, it gave me the humility and fear of being wrong that